One of the most annoying aspects of MBTI is that there is too much contradiction in how each cognitive function is defined. For example, if I just try to look up the definition of introverted intuition on YouTube, different sources will tell me different things. Frank James defines it one way, Asura Psych describes it another way, Eric Thor will say something, and objective personality will tell me something else. This happens because many MBTI enthusiasts over the years have focused on interpreting cognitive functions through their own understanding, rather than focusing on explaining the original meaning of it. This trend has skewed the meaning of functions, and today, multiple interpretations exist of them, making it difficult to determine which one is correct. This is why I think it is essential to go back to the basics. MBTI and all the interpretations of it are based on the ideas originally proposed by Carl Jung, specifically Carl Jung's theory of personality types, published in 1921. By revisiting Jung's original ideas, we can gain a better understanding of the foundations of MBTI. Today, we will explore how Jung himself defined cognitive functions. The ultimate life goal of extroverted thinking is to live life according to logical principles. According to TE, logic is defined by objective facts, or generally valid ideas. A good idea is the one that produces good results. Any idea or thought that cannot be applied in real life and doesn't provide any benefit is useless. When making a decision, TE never considers what it personally feels about something but focuses on the objective value of the subject. For example, if an extroverted thinker has to choose between an MBA degree and an art degree, he will consider which degree has better career prospects and is more financially rewarding, instead of choosing based on personal interest or preference. This is the logical approach TE follows consistently. In TE's eyes, this is the proper way to live life. The world can be a better place only when everyone collectively follow this approach, so TE aims to reform the world through its methods. This often leads to a repression of emotions, as they are seen as illogical and contradictory to the logical principle. In extreme cases, TE can become extremely controlling and antagonistic, if doing so aligns with the desired outcome. Jung emphasizes that FE tends to place a lot of importance on social norms, values, and expectations. They want to create a positive and agreeable social atmosphere by following these external standards, even if they don't personally agree with them. For example, they might feel like they have to say something is good, even if they don't personally feel that way, because it's the polite thing to do. This isn't meant to be fake or insincere. People with FE genuinely want to make people feel included. However, this does not mean that FE is inherently good or moral, because the values that come from FE are a product of society. If the society that they are in allows them to be hostile towards certain type of people, they can be hostile without any remorse. Jung believed that FE is critical for creating harmonious social interactions, and it is essential for FE to establish a strong rapport with their environment. Just like TE, FE also feels its way is the proper way of life. On the downside, when FE feels people are not holding themselves to the same standard, it can lose its charm and become cold. People with FE tend to reject ideas that can disrupt the positive atmosphere they're trying to create, even if those ideas are logical. Dealing with these kind of situations can cause FE to have emotional outbursts. SE individuals focus on concrete and sensory experiences, meaning they pay attention to things that they can physically experience using their five senses. People with SE tend to be very in touch with the physical world around them and enjoy engaging with it. They are drawn to things that excite their senses, such as aesthetics, beauty, delicious food, or an adventure. From SE's point of view, the world is an arena of opportunity for endless pleasure, and it wants to become one with the world. It can appreciate the finer aspects of life, but if SE dominates too much, it can lead to a fixation on pleasure-seeking or a disregard for personal well-being. However, this doesn't necessarily mean that SE is simply superficial or hedonistic. SE perceives the world in its original form without attaching any abstract or symbolic meaning to it. It sees the world for what it really is. and this makes SE the most realistic function. And yet their preference to focus on what is directly in front of them means they often overlook or neglect the hidden meanings or underlying patterns in the world. This causes SE to make the same mistakes repeatedly without being able to break the cycle. In the context of Jung's theory of personality types, the word objects refer to real-world things, activities, people, and places. Sensation is how we perceive these objects through our senses, while intuition is how we perceive the connections between these objects. To put it simply, sensation is about seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and smelling, while intuition is about understanding how things are connected and what possibilities they hold. Extroverted intuition is focused on finding possibilities in the external world. It wants to discover what can be done with the things that exist around us. It is constantly making abstract connections between things to generate new ideas. All of this sounds very unclear, so let me provide a practical example. Let's say you are walking in the park and you notice an unusual tree. Suddenly you remember a painting you saw a few weeks ago that had a similar tree in it. You start to wonder if the painter was inspired by this particular tree, or if there is a deeper connection between the theme of the painting and the appearance of this tree. You may even start to think of other objects that are similar to the painting and the tree. This is an example of how NE perceives an object and makes connections with other objects to create something brand new. NE is always present in situations where external possibilities exist, and it has a strong sense for anything new that holds future promise. While it is quick to grab onto new things with great enthusiasm, it can lose interest as soon as it understands its potential, and no further development can be envisioned. When intuition dominates, it can cause the individual to become eccentric and disconnected from reality. TI is a way of thinking that focuses on forming its own logical conclusions. These logical conclusions are formed by inner ideas instead of external facts. TI creates theories and asks questions, but its main goal is to come up with new ideas of understanding and presenting them to the world. This is very different from TE, which is concerned with collecting factual information that produce results. TI, on the other hand, forms an understanding first, based on its own point of view, and collects facts later as evidence for its theories. TI doesn't form logical opinions to achieve a predetermined goal, but to simply reach the truth. TI is always worried about the logical consistency and coherence of their theories, and can complicate problems by getting caught up in their own doubts. When communicating logical ideas, TI does not introduce them in an organized manner, but rather dumps them and becomes annoyed when people find them confusing. This is because no matter how refined their ideas may sound to them, their constant overthinking and introspection can cause them to lose sight of how their ideas might be perceived by others. TI is generally stubborn about its ideas. It is not easily swayed by external influences or the opinions of others. At times like these, it can become very defensive and frustrated. Because TI is a very internally focused function, TI types may lack social skills and appear quite awkward. This results into a live, long struggle of feeling isolated and disconnected from others. FI is an internal process that prioritizes personal values and ideals over facts or external reality. FI types have a strong sense of what personally feels right and wrong to them. FI is not concerned with being logical or correct. What matters the most to FI is to stay true to its feelings. Being authentic takes utmost importance. It is more fulfilling to do and say the things one believes in rather than doing or saying things that are expected. This internal process requires deep exploration of one's emotions and a desire to align their actions and decisions with their beliefs. FI seeks emotional intensity and feels that mere words are often not enough to express its true feelings, so it hopes to express itself through more passionate means like art, poetry, and music. FI types are attracted to melancholy, pain, and suffering because these emotions capture the depth and complexity of human emotion. When dealing with the outside world, FI types often appear quiet and unassuming, even though their internal state is quite opposite. In the worst-case scenario, Jung noted that FI can become very close-minded and self-absorbed, feeling that their opinions are worth more than others. In this state, FI can become overly dominant and aggressive in some individuals. They refuse to listen to outside opinions and become erratic. Introverted sensation is a way of perceiving the world that is focused on an individual's personal and subjective experiences. Where SE perceives reality for what it is, SI perceives reality through a lens of its own subjective understanding. This subjective understanding is formed on the basis of past experiences with different aspects of reality. SI is more interested in the underlying meaning and significance of their experiences with objects, rather than just the visible or physical aspects of them. SI types are very good at remembering things they've experienced through their senses. They can recall the sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and even physical sensations associated with past events quite vividly, and are often drawn to experiences that evoke a sense of nostalgia or familiarity. SI types tend to have a rich inner world because they are constantly processing and analyzing their past experiences in great detail, trying to make sense of them and extract valuable insights. They can recall vivid details and sensations of past events, and this can create a kind of inner reality that is very real and lucid to them. SI also has a unique ability to draw from past experiences and use them to anticipate future outcomes. In difficult cases, SI types can have difficulty adapting to new or unexpected situations. Introverted intuition is a cognitive function that has the ability to pick up on the underlying causes and patterns in reality. It looks beyond what's in front of it and tries to discover the larger meaning of things. It is similar to SI in many ways. Like we discussed, SI perceives reality through a subjective lens and forms an impression of reality. NI does the same. But where SI focuses on exploring the details of the impression, NI seeks to understand what caused the impression. It looks for connections between impressions and other ideas, symbols, and patterns that exist in the world. It wants to form a holistic understanding. With NI, one can predict how things will probably turn out in the future based on those holistic ideas. If you are not an NI user or new to this concept, that probably went over your head, so here is a practical example. Suppose there is an NI dominant individual who has never been to a club before and wonders why people go to clubs. Unlike a high SE user who would go to a club and actively participate in the activities, an NI dominant relies on their intuitive insights and internal mental processes to understand the phenomenon. The NI dominant will contemplate the deeper meaning behind the desire to go to clubs, considering what drives people to seek stimulation and social interaction in that particular environment. They might also analyze how the experience of clubbing fits into a broader context, taking into account societal trends and cultural norms. After carefully assessing all of this, the NI dominant will be able to form a prediction about how the trend of clubbing is likely to develop in the future and what impact it may have on society at large. So basically, NI approaches situations with a focus on finding patterns, connections, and underlying meanings rather than relying on external observations.